Yeah, good afternoon all. And today I'm going to deliver about the lecture number 1 where it comes under unit number 1 as per our syllabus. The concept is Introduction to Language Processors. Again, I'm repeating the concept Introduction to Language Processors. And in the yesterday class, I think you all understand the basics of the compiler, the introduction of the compiler, and why we need to study the compilers, and what the objectives of the compiler is, and what the outcome that you are gaining as an ability after completion of the course. Yeah, see here we're having some outlines. In the concept of introduction to language processors, what I am going to deliver in this class is, first of all, you all have to know why the compilers are, and about the programming language classification levels, and then what the history of compiler is, and the basic definition of the compiler with a neat structure, and then the definition of an interpreter with the neat structure. And we are comparing the both compilers and the interpreters, and compilers versus interpreters, and finally the language processing phases, where it is the concept of today's concept, language processing phases. Before knowing the language processing phases, first we have to know all of those, what, why the compilers are, and the programming language classification levels, and what the history of the compiler is, and what is an compiler and what is an interpreter, how we are comparing the both compiler and the interpreter. All these concepts first we need to understand, then we can clearly understand the language processing phases. Yeah, going to outline number 1, why the compilers. Before knowing why the compilers, here we have to know the 3 basic fundamental things about the compilers. And we all are very much familiar with the computer. We all know what the computer is, what are the components of the computer, what is the definition of the computer, and who invented computer. All these, the basic knowledge we all know about the computers. And here, computers are a balanced mix of software and hardware. Yeah, again I'm repeating the word, balanced mix of software and hardware. And as a computer science engineering students, you all know what the software is and what the hardware is, and you know how to differentiate the hardware and the software. Then hardware is just a piece of mechanical device. As we know the definition of the hardware, it is just a piece of an mechanical device, and its functions are being controlled by the compatible software. Whatever the functions that we are going to implemented here, those are all are being controlled by an compatible software. So whatever the software tools that we are using in our programming language. And here the another thing is that hardware understands the instructions in the form of electronic charge. You all know electronic charge in the sense it is a machine level code language where the human can't understand that language. Human can't read that language, and which is counterpart of binary language in software programming. Binary language means, I think so you all know, where the binary language has only 2 alphabets. What are those? 0 and 1s. And 0, by using the zeros and ones, the binary language was designed. And as we all understand that binary language just by seeing the code, no, it is very hard to understand. So for that purpose, we are choosing the software tools. We are choosing the software tools. And here, and after knowing the basic 3 fundamental things, why the compiler is, and now here we're having some reasons of those. First reason is to increase the productivity of the code, compilation code. To increase the productivity of the compilation code, we will choose the compilers. Compilers, again I'm repeating, increase the productivity of the code. Increasing the productivity of the code, we are choosing the compilers. And the second thing is that For example, we're having different types of languages, different types of programming languages, and we're having the levels of the programming languages. Levels of the programming languages are there. In that level, we're having high level language and low level language, and we always prefer high level languages. Why? Because it is easier to maintain, and it is very portable for us, and it is very easy to write. All those things are under high level language. While coming to the low level programming languages, those are all very harder to write and less portable, and uh, it is very much harder to maintain by the users in the sense who is compiling the code, who is writing the program. And the third one is an hardware synthesis. Here we are having a path description that, see here in the slide, we are having a path description. First path is that we have to register transfer language, and then the second path is that the gates, and then the third path is that the transistors, and finally we will get an physical output. And what the gates and what the transistors are clearly understand by you by seeing the next and next slides. And here we are choosing some hardware synthesis languages, like in VHDL is an hardware synthesis language to describe the high level hardware description language. And the other thing is that whatever the files that we are saving with an .exe files, executable applications, we are calling them as an executable applications. If you save the file with an .exe, that file can be called as an executable application file. And here we're performing some reverse engineering techniques. What the reverse engineering techniques is, here we're having, it was shown by the path description. Once see the slide, runtime in the form of a binary code of series of zeros and ones, and then the assembly code, and then finally high level language. What it means is low level language conversion to an high level language conversion. Low level in the form of a binary code, zeros and ones, and then the assembly code, and then finally the high level language code where it is easily understood by the user. And these are the four reasons behind why the compiler sees. Making into consideration of these four reasons, next we are going to see understanding of binary language. Is it very easy or very hard? Understanding of binary language is very hard. Why? Because binary language has only two alphabets, as I already said, that zeros and ones. To instruct the hardware codes must be written in a binary format. Which is simply a series of zeros and ones. See here, by seeing the slide, do you all understand what the code is? Can you all define what it is? No. Why? Because we don't know what the code is, because we can understand that it is a binary code, because the code consisting of zeros and ones. But what the output of the code, we are not unable to expect that what the output of the code is. So what does that mean is, it would be a difficult and cumbersome task for computer programs to write such codes. For that purpose, which is why we have compilers to write such code. Why the compiler is the concept there, and for that I am giving the answer. For it would be difficult and cumbersome task if our code is in the form of a binary language. So for that purpose, for computer programmers to write such code, which is why we have compilers to write such codes. Again, I'm repeating. I think you all understand what I am saying. Understanding binary language is very harder, because it is not an easy way to understand by the user. Recognizing what type of a language is an easy thing, but understanding what it is not an easy thing. So for that purpose, we have compilers to write such codes. So see here, we're having the language classifications, programming language classifications levels. In the last slide, we saw the path like low level language with the binary code zeros and ones, and then the assembly language, and then high level language. It is in reverse engineering. Actual thing is that the way of process of compilation is that giving the input in the form of an high level language, and after doing the compilation it converts into the assembly language, and finally after generating the code, then our output is in the form of an object code, which it is in the form of an machine level language. That is an correct path process. When we done the reverse engineering, then it automatically the starting from low level and ending with an high level in between assembly language. And here how the classification of programming language levels are defined as, see here we're having three levels. One is a low level, the other one is a high level, and the next one is a natural level language. Where the low level again can be divided into two types of languages. One is an assembly language and the another one is an machine language, where the code is in the form of an machine instructions, all the registers, whatever we're having, using of the registers, using of the machine instructions, and by using all those, the language is designed, that we can calling as a machine level language. And high level language, we are all very much familiar with this high level language, because in every semester we're having one programming language as a course, and we are doing the lab session for that, and so everyone is familiar with that high level languages. So here we're having the examples like C, C++,
Madam.
Java. What's it?
ఇద్దరు నేమ్ తో ఎంటర్ అయ్యారు, రోల్ నెంబర్ తో ఎంటర్ అవ్వలేదు. ప్రదీప్ జక్కుల,
Sir, please.
రాజ్ కుమార్.
Sir, this is a recording session. Please do in chat box, sir.
ఓకే మేడం.
High level, sorry for the interruption, and I'm continuing here. High level language, every student is familiar with the high level language, because we are having different types of high level languages, programming languages like C, C++, Java, Pascal, Prolog, Scheme, and so on and so on. And what the natural level language is, what the language that we are easily understand that that language is nothing but a natural language. That is, the example of that language is an English. And here we're having, there is also a classification by programming language generations, and these are the three levels of programming languages. One is a low level, high level, and natural level. The assembly level and the machine level comes under low level languages. And the next one is history of the compilers. See here we're having different compiler softwares, software platforms, and in which year it was, the software was developed. I defined here in the history of compilers slide. Please all of you see the slide and make a note of these points. This is a history of the compilers. Now, the most important concept before knowing about the language processor, first we need to know what the compiler is. What the compiler is. Basically, compiler came from the family of a translator, which was already learnt in the last class. Compilers are basically an translators. Why we are calling them as an translators? It is an translator. It came from the translator family, as I already said in the last class. Why? The compilers are the translators. Here we're translating the code, whatever the code that we written, we're translating that code from one language to the another language. What the one language and what the another language is. Initially we are taking the one language as a high level language, and to some other language like an assembly level language. Without changing the meaning of the program. Without changing the meaning of the program, what we have to do is, by using these compilers, we are translating from one language to the another language. This is the most important basic definition of the compilers. What is a compiler? Compiler is a translator. What we are going to do in what we are translating here, translating from one language to the another language. That means translating from high level language to the assembly level language or low level language. We can call LLL is nothing but a low level language. And here we have to make a note that without changing the meaning of the program, we need to translate by using the compilers. And again, here we are having two main constraints to keep in our minds, that one is a time constraint and one is a space constraint. What the time and what the space is. To consume the time, to consume the space. Consumption of the time and consumption of the space. Consumption of the time and consumption of the space. If you consume the time and if you consume the space, automatically you can you can generate the target code in an efficient manner. And also by optimizing the code. Optimization is nothing but an minimizing the code. How we are going to minimize the code? Here in the code optimization, we're applying some transformation techniques. By applying those transformation techniques, we are minimizing the code. And what is the purpose of this minimization of the code? The purpose of minimization of the code alternately automatically leads to improving the efficiency of the code. So then the two constraints are going to be satisfied. One is a time constraint and another one is a space constraint. So compilers should make the target code efficient. Efficient target code should be generated by using the compilers, and also it should be an optimized code in terms of time and space. And here compiler design covers the basic translation mechanisms. See here, for example, I am using the C compilers. By using the C compilers, I am compiling some code in my program. Compilation of the code in the program. And if here we're having an if condition, if my code consisting of any errors, then by using the compilation, by implementing the compilation, I can detect the errors. I can recover the errors. And after detecting and after recovering the errors, then automatically my code becomes an efficient code. Then automatically my code becomes an efficient code. So for these compilers, we're having the examples like this: the Fortran, Ada, C, C++, and COBOL. All these are the examples of the compilers. And see the structure in the slide. See, once all of you see the structure in the slide. See, here we're having a source program. Source program is nothing but an input program. Input program in the sense, for example, I'm writing an C program that can be called as a source program here. And then I'm performing the C compilers. I'm performing the C compilers, and there itself I'm getting some, if any, there itself I'm getting some errors or any type of an warnings. And after rectifying the errors, and then I am going for the next path, next phase, that is an executable program. That means I am running the code now. Running the code by giving the input data, and finally I am getting the output as an result. This is the way of executing the program by using the compilers. See here, I am taking a source program as an C program. So here I am using the compiler as an C compilers. whatever the programming language that you choose as a high level programming language, then that the platform of that compilers are going to be implemented here as an C compilers, like in C compilers, Java C compilers, like that. And this is the definition of the compiler with the structure and the examples. And next one, interpreter. Interpreter. I think you all heard the word interpreters. Interpreters are also the basically translators. These compilers and these interpreters came from the family of the translators. Here also what we are doing is we are translating from one language to the another language. But see the difference between the structures of both the compiler and the interpreter here. See the difference between the structures. There initially we are giving the source program to the compiler, then there itself we are getting some errors, and after that we are going for running the program. After that the phase is to run the executable program. Then at the time of running the program, there we are giving the input data. But compare this to the interpreter. See here, interpreter is also a type of a language processor. Here what we're doing is we're directly executing the operations that are specified in the source program. That means directly we're giving the input to the interpreter. See, source program is nothing but a program whatever we write in our own language. That means own language in the sense it may be a high level language or whatever it may be. Our input program is a high level language program. So here I'm taking an example of an C program, and here itself I am giving the program to the interpreter, and at a time I'm giving the input data to the interpreter, and finally I'm executing the program by getting an output as a result. And in between here,
మేడం స్టూడెంట్స్ ని అడ్మిట్ చేయాలంట, కొద్దిగా అడ్మిషన్ కొడతారండి. హలో
sir, no admit all, okay. Okay, sir.
ఓకే మేడం.
So interpreter is also acting as an translator. Interpreter is also acting as a translator here. At the time of interpreting, we are also getting some errors and we are also getting some warnings. We are rectifying those errors and we are executing the program, and finally we are getting the output as an result. This is another type of a translator calling as an interpreter. In interpreter we are directly executing the program by performing some operations. And then the next one most important concept, that is compilers versus interpreters. Compilers versus interpreters. Now we are going to differentiate between the two types of translators. The first one is a compiler and the second one is an interpreter. In the compiler, for example, I am having 20 lines of the code. At a time I am compiling the whole program. I am doing the compilation whole program at a time. But while coming to the interpreter, line by line compilation I am doing. Line by line compilation I am doing. So I am interpreting my program instructions in a line by line manner. But while coming to the compiler, the entire program I am compiling at a time. I am compiling my entire program at a time. And here in the compilers, intermediate object code is going to be generated, but in the interpreters we are not generating any type of an intermediate codes. So no intermediate object code is generated in the interpreters. And for example, we are using some statements like in conditional statements, conditional control statements. All those statements are executing in the both the compilers and the interpreters, but the compilers are very much faster when compared to the interpreter. Interpreters are slower than the compilers. And here, when we are defining the word compiler, there I define the two constraints. One is in time consumption and the another one is in space consumption. Space in the sense here we are taking in the form of an, calling it in the form of an memory requirement. And the requirement of the memory while coming to the compilers is more, because here we are generating the object code. But while coming to the interpreter, we are not generating any object code. So memory requirement is very less in interpreters. And every time the program need not to be compiled at every time in the compilers. But while coming to the interpreters, every time the higher level program is converted into a lower level program. This is another comparison, most important comparison in the compilers and the interpreters. And in the both type of translators, we are performing the type checking errors, we are performing the type conversion errors, we are rectifying the errors. Error detection recovery is implemented in both the compiler and the interpreters. Why? Because if you implement the error detection recovery process, then you can easily know the type of an errors that you are getting in your program. So errors are displayed after entire program is checked in the compilers. For each and every instructions that we are going to do, that the errors are going to be displayed in the interpreters. If any, in the both conditions, if any condition is implemented, if any condition we are taking, if any errors, they are to be displayed. If not, no error. If our program does not consisting of errors, then we can directly going to run the phase like an executable program, that is runtime, running the program by giving the input. And here the examples of the compilers are, for example, I am implementing my C program, I will choosing the C compilers. And for in the interpreters, the example is an BASIC, BASIC. BASIC is an example. It is a software tool, and it is an example for the interpreters. In 7 points we differentiate the compiler and the interpreter, where those two comes under the family of the translators. Yeah, our today concept, that is a language processing phases. Language processing phases, today's concept. Why? What is language processing system? First we have to know what is language processing system. And we have already learned that any computer system is made of both the hardware and the software. Hardware and the software are the two important components for the computer. The hardware understands a language which humans cannot understand. Why? Because it is a machine level language. The human can't read that language, and the human can't easily understand that language. So for that purpose, the hardware understands a language which humans cannot understand. So we write programs in high level language, which is easier for us to understand and remember. And these programs are then fed into a series of tools and OS components to get the desired code that can be used by the machine. See, here we're having some tools like preprocessor is one type of an tool, compiler is another type of an tool, assembler is another type of an tool, linker loaders is another type of an tool. These are the different types of tools that we are using here and calling them as an phases of the language processing. And these programs are then fed into a series of tools. These are the series of tools that we are using here, and the OS components to get the desired code that can be used by the machine. This is known as language processing system. Language processing system. What we are doing is we're feeding some tools as a series of tools and the OS components to get the desired code that can be used by the machine. These programs are then calling them as an language processing system programs. Language processing system programs. See here, the first tool, that is a pre-processing tool. Pre-processing tool is the first tool. What do you mean by pre-processing here? See, if you all see the slide, then you can easily understand. Here we are having in red marks. From the preprocessor, we get modified source program. This modified source program is going to the compilers. Then from the compilers, we get the target assembly language. This is going to the assembler. Then from the assembler, we are getting relocatable machine code. And this relocatable machine code is going to be linker or loader. Then finally we are getting the target machine, and where it is going to be stored in the memory. And by seeing the structure of this language processing, what do you understand that here we are performing the pre-processing technique. What the pre-processing technique is, for example, by giving the input program, that is a source program, to the preprocessor, there itself I'm executing, I'm processing, I'm performing some operations there itself, and I am executing or generating some output in the form of modified source program. This modified source program is acting as an input to the compiler, and the compiler generates some output. That output is again giving to the assembler. This assembler generates an output. That output is giving to the linker. What it means is, the output of one phase is acting as an input to the other phase. The output of one phase is acting as an input to the another phase. That is nothing but an pre-processing technique. That is nothing but an pre-processing technique. And here we're having, how many tools we're having here in the language processing phases? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tools we're having. And preprocessor, compiler, assembler, linker or loader. And these we are calling them as in software tools or compiler tools. We can also name it as an compiler tools. Preprocessor is one type of an compiler. Compiler is an type of an compiler. Assembler is a type of an compiler tool. Linker or loader is another type of an compiler tool. Software compiler tools, all these are. So initially in the starting itself we are giving an input, and finally what we are getting the target machine code. In between the process of how the process of compilation is carried out between these tools, we are going to see. We are going to learn about how the process of compilation is going to be done in between these phases. We can call them as an phases. Not always we didn't call about an tools. We can also call them as an phases. Preprocessor phase, compiler phase, assembler phase, linker or loader phase. And after knowing what the language processing system is, then we can in detail know knowing about the language processing phases by seeing the structure, by learning about this structure. See here, source program is an input program. Before going in detail the description about this language processing phases, if the session ends, no need to worry, I will continue in the next class about this language processing phases. See, our class strength is 96 members, but here the participants are okay. Along with the Gopal Krishna sir, we are having 97 participants. Okay, good. See, I am describing the structure of the language processing phases. The high level language is converted into binary language in various phases, as we all know that. High level language. Our source program is an high level language source program. What it means is I written and code in the high level language program that can be called as an source program, and now it is going to be converted into an binary language in various phases. And we all know the definition. A compiler is a program that converts high level language to the assembly level language. Similarly, an assembler is a program that converts the assembly language to the machine level language. And here we're having compilers and the assemblers. Again, the compiler and assemblers both comes under the family of the translator family. And here at the compilation, at the phase of compiler, we are translating high level to low level, that is in high level to assembly level language. And but by using the assembler, where assembler is also another type of a translator, here we're translating the assembly language into the machine level language. And these are the two types of translators that we are using in the language processing phases. One is an compiler and the another one is an assembler. And here similarly, the assembly language to the machine level language. Now, let us take an example. Let us first understand how a program using a C compiler is executed on a host machine. We all know, we all are very much familiar with executing the programs, writing the codes, writing the number of lines of instructions in a program, and giving the input and executing the code. In before getting the code, we are running the program, compilation, doing the compilation process. Every student was familiar with this, familiar with executing the program and writing the program. And here I am taking an example of using a C compiler is executed on a host machine. First thing, users write a program in C language, means my source program is an C language program, where it is a high level language program. Now I am pre-processing it. Pre-processing it in the sense I am modifying the source program, and that source program is taking as an input to the compilers. Taking as an input to the compilers. Now here in the compilation process, the C compilers, why? Because I am calling the C compilers, my input program is in a C language program. My program is in C language, where it is a high level language. So I am using the C compilers here, and compiles the program and translates. And after doing the compilation, the output I am getting is target assembly language, where target assembly language is an output of my compiler after performing the compilation. Then this target assembly language is a low level language. Now my output should be a machine level language. So for that, again I'm using the another type of a translator, assembler. And now the C compilers compiles the program and translates it into an assembly program, where it is a low level language. And now that output is taking as an input to the assembler. And now the input of the assembler is an target assembly code, and an assembler then translates this assembly program into machine code, that we can calling as an relocatable machine code, where after performing and after executing the assembler, I am getting an output in the form of a relocatable machine code. Where I am calling it as an object code. And now I am connecting this machine code to the linkers or loaders. Why? Because I am connecting this relocatable machine code to the linker or loader. A linker is a tool here, where it is used to link all the parts of the program together